chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can drive the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the game, can't chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can drive the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Extra Point Week 3 edition of the show. My name is Loro Antonio, and joining me is Ben Kurse, and also the newest member of the Extra Point team, and that is Mr. Sammy Sharp. So, Sammy, welcome to the Extra Point. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on tonight. How have you been, Loro?
I've been great, and welcome to the Extra Point team, and looking forward to having you on here every Sunday night after Sunday Night Football to recap the Sunday slate of games and then look ahead to Week 4. And then I got Ben, my Patriots fan friend. How are you doing, my man?
Personally, myself, I'm doing okay. My sports, though, all weekend were pretty embarrassing, so that's besides the point, but I'm doing all right.
All right, good. So let's get this show on the road. Let's talk some football here, folks. So anyways, let's start with Thursday Night Football. So the Carolina Panthers beat the Texans, but they held the Texans to 9 points. Obviously, they lost J.C. Horn and Christian McCaffrey to injuries. So, Ben, I'm going to start with you on this one, since you kind of talked about losing those two key players on the Panthers is very, very significant. And for the Texans, they were just only held to 9 points.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this before, the Texans and Panthers game. I thought the Panthers really outplayed them from start to finish. Sam Darnold looks like a really good quarterback in their system, and I think that their team, I'd say it's kind of like in the middle in terms of like being real and not, just because they haven't really faced great teams so far, but I do give them credit for credit's due, especially kind of what the season's been so far. It's been kind of crazy. And their defense has been really, really good. Davis Mills had his first start, so I think that for the first start that he had, I thought there was, of course, a lot of growing pains, but of course that's supposed to be expected. And then McCaffrey and J.C. Horn going down were two big losses. Like I mentioned before, Lower, I do think that McCaffrey's, I don't think will be too long in terms of injury-wise. I think it could be a short-term IR type of thing. Horns, I'm not terribly sure about, but they're two big losses that they'll need for the next couple of weeks here. But it's a good win for them.
Very good win for the Panthers as well. So, Sammy, what are your thoughts on that Thursday night game between the Carolina Panthers and the Houston Texans?
I think that was a game that Panthers should have won, and it's a good thing that they were able to close it out. As for the Texans side, losing Tyrod Taylor, I think right now the Texans were a fringe already 7-6 win team with for Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. Now that they're starting Davis Mills and Tyrod's out, it's gonna be hard for them to get by any wins at this point of the season. But as far as the Panthers, though, I'm happy for them for being able to close out this game and winning the games that you're supposed to win, and that's the mark of a solid team right there, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Now let's go on to our comment section. So Casey King just tuned in right now, and he said, "Good evening to you all." And he also said, "And how about my Rams as they got a big win for the Bucs?" So I'm going to start off with my thoughts on this game before I give it to Ben here. So I thought that Tom Brady and the Buccaneers didn't have a good game today. They were exposed by that Rams run defense. The Rams defense played great as a whole, and the Rams offense looked very good with Matthew Stafford today. And also I thought that the Rams had a big win to go 3-0. And Brady's first game in LA, I'll tell you what, it didn't go very well. Ben, what was your thoughts on the Buccaneers losing to the LA Rams?
Well, I predicted, I thought that, Brady's not going to have many losses this season, but I thought that Rams defense was going to create some problems. But I don't think Brady was the reason why they lost. I think, because last year he threw 2 interceptions. One was a critical one at the end. He threw from those. I know we had some, you could say, stat padded yards because, that he threw some kind of at the end of the game, but he looked fine for the most part that I watched. It was their defense just got shredded. Their secondary has a lot of, problems. Jamel Dean, A lot of guys in that secondary, even though the first couple of games that the Buccaneers won, they've had a bunch of problems with their secondary. So you saw what Stafford was able to do. I give a lot of credit to Stafford and Sean McVay and what they were able to kind of put in their game plan. And, guys like Deshaun Jackson had a big game. Cooper Kupp is one of the best receivers in that game, and he really turned it up today. So, you got to give credit where credit's due. Aaron Donald, that defense, they're a top to bottom team playing with a lot of high confidence, and I think that they could pose a real big threat in that NFC West. So it was a really good potential preview of a game potentially down the road in the playoffs today for sure. And the Buccaneers definitely had their hands full tonight, and the Rams definitely deserved it.
It was a well-deserved win for the LA Rams. And what about you, Sammy? What's your takeaways on that game?
I'm not surprised. Just because the thing is that we've seen this time and time with the Patriots, and now we're seeing it now. Early season Tom Brady isn't late season Tom Brady. He doesn't play at 100. I mean, it's not him, but his teams are not, in their prime early in the season. I know late season it's going to be a different Buccaneers team. Playoff time, this is going to be a lot better Buccaneers team. Right now, they're not. I don't think they're going at 100% right now with the game plans, but it's more about chemistry. And for them learning how to play with each other at this point of the season. I didn't think that the Buccaneers were going to take this game 100% serious, and for the Rams, it's knocking off the Super Bowl champs. Every Super Bowl defending Super Bowl champ has that target on their back because every team circles them and wants to beat them and have their best game plan. So I think it was just more of the Rams being more ready and having the game meaning more to them, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So now, continuing with our comment section, Casey King also said, as for the Panthers, they played good so far. And happy to see Sam Darnold, my boy from USC, do so well. We'll see how they do going forward. And I think going forward, I think they're a team to be reckoned with in the NFC South. So, and also, Casey King said, thank you, Packers and Vikings, for beating the Niners and Seahawks. And where's Isaiah? I'm sure he is not a happy man tonight. And I'll tell you what, he was working the Niners and Packers game. And if you're listening, Casey King had that comment. Wish you were on right now, but maybe you could join later in the show. But Casey King also said, bring on the Arizona Cardinals next weekend. So
that'll be a fun one.
I'll be watching that game before the Patriots take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. So the next game we're going to talk about the Patriots right now. As the Patriots suffered, it was not a really good game for the Patriots, as the Patriots lost to the Saints 28-13. And I thought the play of that game was Kendrick Bourne scoring the touchdown right over the pylon. I thought that was the bright spot of the game for the Patriots. I thought that they had to come back into them, but I thought that the Saints defense was just too hard to overcome for the Patriots. When Mac Jones got exposed, no, I'm not going to blame him for why we lost this game. There were just so many other reasons why the Patriots lost this game. The team kept turning the ball over too many times. Mac Jones throwing 3 interceptions. It was not his fault. It was the Saints defense that just read Mac Jones so well. And I know that Mac Jones is going to learn from this and grow from this. The kid is still learning, and his potential is there, off the charts. So, Ben, what is your thoughts on this game overall?
Yeah, well, I listened to some of it. The first half I didn't really watch a ton because I was at work, but I kind of just saw. It sounded like the first half. The Saints. They missed 2 field goals. Patriots had some chances. They didn't really convert a bunch in the first half. But, when I got home, I saw the pick 6 that Mac threw. Jonnu Smith has to corral that. I'm sorry that was a tough bounce, but of course that 14-3 that turned into 21-3. I thought the Patriots defense, for a lot of it, I thought second half they played okay, but they remind me of that Dolphins game a bit. Kind of at the end. When it came to the plays on defense that matter most, the 3rd and 7, that was the play of the game. You still have a chance, you get them off the field there. Jameis threw that out pattern, and they just drove down the field. That kind of reminds me of a bunch of old Patriots type of teams where they kind of struggle a bit, and then they kind of have a big methodical drive to kind of put the game away, and that was a big one there that Jameis and Taysom Hill did. But the biggest thing, Lower, that I've recognized is so far execution. And it's just even though against the Jets, I know it's the Jets, but the first 3 weeks it's been pretty poor overall. You know, guys are penalties, like you said, turnovers. I think our tight ends, Henry and Smith, haven't done a whole lot, and they paid them a lot. Not taking away anything from them, because I think Josh McDaniels has still been conservative. You know, he really in the second half, I was starting to feel like, okay, you know, the game was kind of out of reach at that point, so the back had to start throwing deep. But I liked to at least see it. You know, I wanted to kind of at least see, okay, what can he do? And he had some decent moments. You know, I thought the no huddle, he had some things here and there. So maybe by next week when they play Tampa, which actually Tampa, I think the biggest thing about Mac is he has an advantage in this game, because that Tampa secondary has been exposed a lot the last couple of weeks here. So, you know, the biggest thing is Trent Brown. I still think that offensive line. So I look at a couple things. Offensive line, still a huge issue. You know, that right tackle position is a mess. The Saints have a great defensive front. You know, against good defensive fronts, they will get exposed without Brown. And the Saints have a good one. You know, Kendrick Bourne, I thought, was good. You know, they had some guys that were making some good plays, but the biggest thing is execution. If they can get the biggest thing is execution. If they can get their execution going, I mean, the Patriots could be a much better team than they are now. You know, Septembers have usually never been kind to the Patriots either, so I'm not trying to make excuses, but it hasn't been pretty. You know, and you kind of think by now that they would be a little bit better than they are, but as time goes on, as Bill Belichick says, you got to move on, and on to Tampa.
It is on to Tampa right there. So I was telling you that this loss does not rely on Mac Jones. I thought Mac Jones played pretty good, but I just felt like that the interceptions that he had, he just got exposed, and that's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think. I mean, Mac threw 3 interceptions. I mean, the first one, it looked like he just got pressured. You know, the offense line just pressured him, and you know, he just kind of threw it up there. The second one went off Smith, and then the third one, he was just kind of just chucking with, you know, in garbage time. So, I mean, yeah, 3 interceptions are 3 interceptions, but like you said, I don't think most of the. I mean, I saw a lot of what he was throwing in the second half. He had some really good throws to Myers and deep, you know, coverages. I mean, overall, I mean, you would say that for himself, it was probably his worst game with all those penalties. But, I mean, you got to move on. That's the biggest thing. I think, you know, he's still very young, and you know, he's going to learn from this. You know, there's going to be a lot of growing pains. As Pats fans, though, ourselves, as we've been saying, we've been pretty fucking spoiled. You know, we've honestly been kind of used to, you know, not the feeling of losing all the time, and I think that, you know, we're going to be kind of having to get used to the feeling of like other teams have been going through. And it's not the worst thing. It's a sucky feeling here and there. But I did see Loro. It's the first time in like ages that the Patriots in September are 0-2 at Gillette Stadium. That's how crazy it is. They usually, I don't know the last time they've ever lost back-to-back games in September at Gillette Stadium. So I mean, that just says it all. And the Saints were clearly the better team today. They played better. They executed better. And the turnover differential. That's the biggest thing Sean Payton said coming to this game. If you win the turnover differential, you have a chance, and they did that, so I give credit to them.
Yeah, credit to Saints for winning this game today. So, Sammy, what's your overall thoughts on the Patriots losing to the Saints?
I think right now the better Jameis showed up today, which helped the Saints out a lot today on offense. But for the Patriots, you know, as Ben said, you know, that it's still a very closed-up game playbook for Mac Jones passing-wise. We saw it open up a little bit, but not really, I feel like. But, you know, I don't know how much more success you could expect with the Patriots offense with a Josh McDaniels coaching as conservatively as he has been, especially with no running back that the Patriots, it's not like the Patriots have a 3-down back they could rely on and give the ball 20 to 25 times a game. But, you know, I think right now the Saints were the better team. Jameis Winston on a good day, he's one of the better quarterbacks, better top 15 quarterbacks in the league, and he showed it today and was a lot more better than he was last week. So, I think it was just a bad game for New England. Bad luck for New England on the side of Jameis, and bad game plan as far as, just being too conservative with Mac Jones as of right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to open up the playbook. I want Josh McDaniels to be more aggressive, not be too conservative. Open up the playbook. And Josh McDaniels, these first 3 weeks, he has not pleased me with being conservative, with throwing the short passes. He's got to open up the playbook so that you give more opportunities for Mac Jones, the running game, and the receivers. And I just felt like that the Patriots didn't do that today. So, anyways, moving on here. So the Bengals played the Steelers here. So, Sammy, I'm going to go with you on this one. So the Steelers got pretty much lopsided here against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I almost said Joe Brady. So what's your thoughts on the Steelers losing this game?
I kind of expected it. No TJ Watt going into this game. The offensive line didn't miraculously improve. And we're still having the same problems with Najee Harris not getting any holes. But I saw some growth in, when I saw Najee Harris in the open field today, he made a couple plays where I was said, oh, this guy has a lot of potential. You give him this guy some blockers, and I think that Najee Harris could be a top tier running back. But for right now, with no blockers, he can't make holes for himself. And I mean, it's any way could beat us at this point. I feel like that the Steelers, they're going to have to rely on the defense, and TJ Watt coming back next week will certainly help us. But, at this point, 20 points is going to be the magic number to beat Pittsburgh this year. If your offense can score 20 points on the Pittsburgh defense, then you guys will be just fine. If you can't hit that, I think Pittsburgh has a shot because, there might be a pick six, or as we saw with Buffalo, a block punt, a couple plays the Steelers defense makes up, those miscue type plays that Pittsburgh could take advantage of. But as far as, winning this week or losing this week against Joe Burrow is a really good quarterback. He didn't get a lot of credit for it last year, but this year we're seeing that he's a very legitimate quarterback. And next week, with our top tier pass rusher, we could possibly beat the Packers. But, with no offensive consistency, I don't see it personally.
Yeah, you're right. No offensive consistency means that the Steelers are probably not going to beat Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers because the Packers are playing really well right now. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. So, Ben, do you have any input on the Bengals beating the Steelers?
Yeah, I think that the Bengals, of course, not expecting a lot this year from them, but like I said, coming in, if they can stay healthy and Burrow can stay healthy, I mean, they have a really bright future ahead. We've seen what Jamar Chase has been able to bring them so far. Has been really exciting. He's I think, gonna be kind of like the Justin Jefferson of this year. I don't know why. I feel like he's just gonna really break out, be kind of a guy that will, especially with a quarterback that he's really, familiar with from college. But as Sammy said with Pittsburgh, I think that, they got a really good defense. They got really good special teams. I still want to I just can't rule them out as a Pats fan myself, just because I feel like they always feel like they're kind of in it, during the parts of the season. I feel like they kind of just, with us right now, kind of similar things. They just have to, their offense just has to score a little bit more. I think that Big Ben still has a little bit in him left. They got some really good receivers. I really like that Farmworth kid from Penn State. He had a touchdown today for them. So I don't think it was all bad per se for the Steelers, but Bengals, give credit to them. They're 2-1. They beat the Vikings and then they beat Pittsburgh. So, it's been crazy first 3 weeks for a lot of teams that, haven't really, weren't really expected to do a whole lot, but that's the game of football. And I think that, for 17 weeks, it's just going to be a back and forth, type of season for a lot of teams. It's going to be a big grind. And I think that, for the Steelers itself, it was a tough one, but It's just a long season. And for the Pats itself, Laura, I mean, you just have to believe, things can definitely change and happen as we've seen in the past.
Yes, absolutely. But also before we talk about Sunday Night Football here, so let's talk. Let's go to our comments section here. So Adam Barber tuning in. Welcome, Adam, and thank you for tuning into the Extra Point. He said you can't leave 37 seconds left off the clock for Aaron Rodgers. You're absolutely right, Adam. I mean, if you leave 20 seconds off the clock, he's going to throw the ball downfield, and he is going to give you a game-winning drive. So we're about to all the three of us here on this panel are going to be recapping the game between the Packers and 49ers in just a minute here. Isaiah Leong is tuning in right now. He says, the Niners are making me drink at work right now, fellas. 3 more shots of whiskey, please, Mr. Bartender. And one thing, Isaiah, I'll tell you this. Isaiah loses again. So, anyways, this Casey King also said, the Steelers have gone the Higgins route, and it's time for them to rebuild. I'm like, absolutely. I mean, Mike Tomlin is the right coach to rebuild this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Time to start Dwayne Haskins at quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger should just call it a career, and then you give the reins to Dwayne Haskins, and you build your team around him. That's what I think right there. So, folks, with that being said, let's talk about the Packers and 49ers. What a football game. Mason Crosby kicking the 51-yard field goal. It just tells you that Aaron Rodgers is the baddest man in the NFL right now. And for the Niners, Garoppolo played great, but I just thought that as a team, as a whole, their offense looked kind of shaky at times, but their defense would play great. So, Ben, what do you think?
Is this for the what team you said again?
49ers and Packers Sunday Night Football.
Oh, that was a classic. I was trying to, get my mental state out in terms of the Red Sox and my other teams just underperforming and getting me upset. But that was a crazy game. The Rodgers seems like he is back. As they could, for all the people that were just, I was thinking that the Niners would win tonight, and they almost did. Jimmy G drove down the field. Kittle had some big catches. As I say, is saying out here about Juszczyk. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, you just cannot leave that bad man with too much time. As you've seen with the greats, Brady, Breeze, Rodgers. You give them time. It is far from over. And, Aaron Rodgers made some throws tonight that were the Rodgers that we know about. And, he came up big on the final drive, some big throws to his guy Adams. And can we just appreciate how good Devontae Adams is? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's just crazy to think that, it could be, because Rodgers and Adams, obviously this offseason, there are some things here and there about beefing and whatever. I don't know what it could be. But the fact that both players might not be with the same team next year is just crazy, because they could be arguably up there, when it's all said and done, as one of my top 5 favorite in terms of quarterback receiver combinations. It's just that insane of how good it is. So yeah, I mean, it was a good win for the Packers. Going into a really tough environment on Sunday night. Isaiah, I'm sorry for your team. Don't worry, I felt a lot of pain this weekend myself too, so I can't really complain either. So, yeah, it was a good one for them.
Yes, absolutely. But also, we want to talk about the officiating that happened in this game. I called the game on the Colorcast app today, and the officiating was absolutely horrendous today. Too many bad calls, too many missed calls, and all that. So that was my takeaways there. And Sammy, what's your thoughts on the game today? And then after you give your thoughts, we'll talk about the officiating being so bad today on Sunday Night Football.
I thought, that was the game that the Packers almost let slip away. Because if I do recall, last time I remember early in the first half, I think it was, or midway through the game, it was 24-10 Packers. And then I tuned back in, and all of a sudden San Francisco has the lead. So, it was one of those games that I don't think the Packers want to remember because of that play. It's going to be memorable because of Aaron Rodgers, having that comeback. But the fact that he had to have a comeback, was not
True.
something that they should be happy about. But as far as the 49ers go, it shows, even though they lost the game, it's heart-wrenching. That shows that your team has resilience, that they are willing to fight whenever they're down. That's something I like to see in a team, especially a championship team. Those teams are consistently always fighting for 4 quarters. So if I was a 49ers fan, Isaiah, I would not be too disappointed in them. But the fact that you guys did leave them enough time on the clock. Same thing with Lamar Jackson today. You give those 2 guys time on the clock and time on the clock and field to drive down on. It's good. Something's gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, I want to get your guys' take on the officiating tonight. They've missed a lot of calls, and they missed that helmet-to-helmet call on Devontae Adams. But all in all, the officiating tonight in this game was horrendously bad. Ben, what's your thoughts on the officiating tonight in this game?
Well, Loro, I didn't get the chance to watch a whole lot because I was watching my Red Sox, but just the league itself with officiating, I can say, there's been a lot. Watching that Rams-Bucks game, there was a play. They should have called this one right, but sometimes they haven't. It was a pass that Brady threw. I think he was looking for Evans or something, but it was one of those things that the Rams guy was like holding Evans like right before him, but they didn't call it because the ball was tipped. So of course it was a good call, but just a lot of pass interferences. I hate the ones that are like not even close to where the receiver or cornerback is, and they'll just call them still. The ball will be like out of play, like so far away, and they'll still call some that I don't understand. But yeah, it's very inconsistent, Laura. You just don't know. It's you got some referees that are very consistent, some that are just could just be a mess, and that's kind of the way I think about it, But the biggest thing is for your teams is not letting the officiating get into your game plan. If you start to let the officiating get into your game plan, regardless of how good or how bad it is, then you start getting into bad habits. Your team starts to worry about, what could have been this call, what could have been that call, and then you kind of start to build into that. Yes, they'll have some, calls that will affect here and there, but, you got to do what you can to kind of avoid that type of noise and, try to see if they can officiate the best of their abilities.
And then, Sammy, what was your thoughts on the officiating tonight?
I've been a sports fan probably almost my entire life. I've seen a lot of bad calls, a lot of bad games in general where it feels like it's lopsided. I've seen a lot of NBA finals where, what's one team shoots 30 free throws and the other team shoots barely any. So, bad officiating is going to be in all. It's a very unfortunate thing, but it's going to be in all sports. You're going to have it some days. You're going to have it some not other days. Whether it's two ticky-tack penalties, or the referee is swallowing the whistle when really he shouldn't be swallowing the whistle. That should have been a penalty. It's something that it's going to be a constant complaint, I think, throughout the years, especially when we had the interim referees. I don't know if you guys remember that with the Fail Mary, I think it was called, with the interception in the end zone, but it was called a touchdown. It was crazy, but I think, like Ben said, you can't rely on officiating with your game plan because you never know how the referees are going to call the game. Honestly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You don't know how they're going to call it. So, anyways, folks, now let's talk about Monday Night Football and preview that. So, the Eagles taking on the Cowboys tomorrow on Monday Night Football. I'm looking forward to calling that game tomorrow on Colorcast, which should be a great game, a good home opener for the Cowboys. But I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win this game. I'm going to say the score will be 24-21, and I think Greg Zuerlein will kick another game-winning field goal. And I think that the Eagles are going to make it interesting. And I do think that Jalen Hurts is going to have a great game. I expect him to. I think both Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts will both play great tomorrow. So, Sammy, who's your pick tomorrow between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys?
I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I like to see. I think the better quarterback. I like to pick the better quarterback in all situations. And I think Dak Prescott right now is the better quarterback between Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. And I think right now one thing is that the offense just entirely is better in my opinion that the Cowboys have. I don't like really the Eagles wide receiving core or offense in general. They're a more defensive oriented team. But I think right now that plays in the favor of the Dallas Cowboys because the Cowboys, they have a couple things going for them on the defense with DeMarcus Lawrence. Micah Parsons has not been horrible for them. He's actually been a solid rookie for them. And their offense has been very underrated, I think, so far this season. I know that they lit up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and they snuck away with a win in week 2. But, I think that's a very underappreciated part of their game right now. And I think right now they are good enough to go 2-1 and beat the Eagles.
And what about you, Ben? Who's your pick tomorrow?
I don't know. It's going to be a really good game, though. I'm really excited. Two teams really don't like each other. Dak's first game back at home since his injury, so the crowd's going to be buzzing there. Eagles, they're going off a really tough one. They only scored 11 points, but I think they have a lot of good things for them. Really good young coach, good quarterback, Jalen Hurts. I'll probably go with Dallas, especially because it's at their place. I think, Dak could have a big game in this one. They have Cooper and Lamb and Zeke and a bunch of guys that can really create problems on the defense in Philly. I think it'll come down to who doesn't turn the ball over, turnover differential, kind of similar to the Patriots again today. Whoever is able to hold on to the football, play complementary football, your chances of winning are a lot higher. And I think that Dallas probably at home, two coaches, McCarthy, I'm not a huge fan of. I think he's extremely conservative, makes some really just boneheaded mistakes game by game, but I just look at both teams in terms of their talent. And I think that Monday Night Football, home game for Dallas, fans will be buzzing. Dak will be back. So, yeah, give me Dallas.
All right. So, folks, with that being said, let's talk about our Week 4 slate of games. So let's start with Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars visiting the jungle as they will play Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to go first in this one. I'm looking forward to seeing those two play for the first time since the 2020 College Football National Championship game when Joe Burrow outplayed Trevor Lawrence and his LSU Tigers and his Clemson Tigers. It was the battle of the Tigers. It's Clemson versus LSU all over again. But with that being said here, I am going to pick Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars because I feel like that this offense has been outstanding this season. I feel like that this team has been surprising a lot of people, but I also think that maybe it could save Zach Taylor's job. So who knows? So anyway, Sammy, you're familiar with this division and you're a college football expert, and you know Trevor Lawrence pretty well, and you know Joe Burrow pretty well. Who do you like to win in this game on why?
I'm gonna pick the Bengals, and I'm gonna say by double digits. I think they're a very slept-on team. They're a very underrated team right now, and they're gonna have one of the easiest schedules in the league because they are in 4th place, and they have to deal with the Jaguars. And the Jaguars offensively look like a mess. They had the Cardinals backpedaling there for a little bit today, but they weren't able to finish off the Cardinals. And I think right now with how Joe Burrow has been playing the last year and so far this year, I think right now the Bengals are not going to give them a chance early in the game to get on top of them. I think right now the Bengals are going to start off strong, double digits by the end of the first half, and they'll score around 30 points at the end of the game. And I think that Jacksonville will end up with around 20 points to 17 points region. I'm going to pick the Bengals in double digits.
And what about you, Ben?
Yeah, I agree with that same. I don't know if they'll win by double digits, but I think that the Bengals will win. I think they'll probably be in like the mid-20s, probably 24, 24-13 13 type of game. Yeah, I mean the Jaguars, yes, they have Lawrence, but they have a lot of problems on their offensive line. They have a lot of talent. Receiver, Chark. They also have James Robertson in the backfield. But if you can, as we've seen with a lot of the young quarterbacks right now, Mac right now with the offensive line, with us, the Jets with Zach Wilson, Justin Fields had a really poor one with his offensive line. For a lot of these young rookies, you cannot protect them, even with great veterans too. I guess you could say Patrick Mahomes aside because he's just insane in terms of what he can do even with the crappy offense, especially in the Super Bowl. Even though he got beat pretty bad, I mean, he just was going crazy. But even him too, you don't have a good offensive line. I mean, it doesn't matter how much talent you have around. But I think this game, the Bengals, Zach Taylor, Urban Meyer on the other side, I think will control a lot of the pace of play. And I think that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins will have big games. I think T. Higgins will have a really big one because he was out today, I believe. So I think that he'll come back and he'll play really, really well.
All right, absolutely. So now let's go to the first Sunday game of Week 4 for the morning slate. So we'll start with the morning slate here. So Andy Reid makes his second homecoming to Philadelphia as he'll go up against the Philadelphia Eagles. And even though that the Chiefs lost to the Chargers, I'm going to pick Kansas City to win this one. Give me the Chiefs in this one and Andy Reid's homecoming in Philadelphia. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going to bounce back. I thought he played great today. And my thoughts on this Chiefs and Chargers game was that I thought that both teams played very well, but the Chargers were the better team in this game. So I wanted to get that game. I wanted to talk about that game as well, but also I picked the Eagles to win this game. So, Ben, what are your thoughts on the Chargers and Chiefs game? And also, who do you like to win between the Chiefs and the Eagles in Andy Reid's homecoming?
First of all, about Andy Reid, I sent my prayers over to him after seeing the tweet that he had to go get hospitalized after their game today. Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs have some issues so far, as you can tell. That's how crazy the season's kind of been. Projectively one of the best teams in the AFC, being the same record as us and a bunch of teams out there. But them specifically, it's kind of shocking. Back-to-back losses with a really good team, really good offense, but they have a lot of problems defensively. Giving up a lot of points. As Isaiah was saying this past Saturday, there's many good teams with bend or break defenses. Sometimes, you kind of come up short, and I would probably go with the Chiefs over the Eagles. I don't think that the Eagles are a team that could probably match up with the offense that the Chiefs will carry. Justin Herbert had a field day today, and so he was able to kind of stay within reach of the mistakes that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense made. So, you give credit to what the Chargers were able to do. They got some turnovers. That's the only way that I can see the Eagles pulling off the upset. It would be a huge monumental upset if they can beat the Chiefs even at their own place. But I think that the Chiefs will win, and I'm pulling for Coach Reid.
Absolutely. And then, Sammy, what's your thoughts on the Chargers and Chiefs game, and also who's your pick to win between the Chiefs and the Eagles?
Looking at the Chiefs schedule, man, this has to be the easiest matchup that they've had so far this year. I'm going to go with the Chiefs because they've been challenged a lot more, and hopefully, we could get to see Andy Reid next week. And I don't know how serious his symptoms are. I know he was hospitalized in the University of Kansas, but I'm not sure. I didn't look into how serious it is. Hopefully, we'll see him next weekend on the sidelines. But I don't think the Eagles really are on the Chiefs level as far as consistency and talent wise go. I'm going to go with the Chiefs here on this Sunday pick.
Absolutely. And Andy Reid's homecoming to Philadelphia. He's making his second return to Philly. And I'll tell you what, here, I think that Philly Eagles fans didn't like him because he didn't even take him to a Super Bowl. But Eagles fans should be very grateful for what Andy Reid has done for the Philadelphia Eagles and building a winning culture in the city of brotherly love. And I do think he's doing great things in Kansas City. And he even got them to a Super Bowl ring. So he was definitely due to get a Super Bowl ring at some point during his coaching career. And that guy is an offensive genius. And that's why I love offensive-minded coaches that could wear out top defenses. And Andy Reid is smart about playing. Andy Reid is very, very smart and an offensive genius and a good play caller for Patrick Mahomes. So, anyways, now let's talk about the Titans taking on the Jets. So, the Jets lost embarrassingly. I mean, look at that. The Denver Broncos defense really got to Zach Wilson, but it's not saying much because the Jets are in rebuild mode. This team's going through growing pains. And for the Titans, they got a big win against the Colts. And I think that the Tennessee Titans, after losing in week 1 to the Cardinals, I think this team is going to start winning some ball games as the season progresses. And I think the Jets defense is going to have a hard time stopping Derrick Henry and Julio Jones and also A.J. Brown, even if he plays, because I heard today he left the game with a hamstring injury. So, Ben, I'm going to pick the Tennessee Titans. Ben, who do you like between the Titans and the Jets?
Oh, give me the Titans. Jets are a mess. The battle of the New York football teams are a mess. Zach Wilson's had his moments where he's definitely looked like a rookie, to say the least. More than I think a lot of them. They looked out of whack this whole game against Denver. They didn't even score points. I think that Saleh is definitely the right fit for their team, but they just have a bunch. Like they're just like their mentality in terms of just their play. It's just horrible. I think that the Titans could definitely take a lot of advantage of this team.
And what about you, Sammy? Who do you want to win in this game between the Tennessee Titans and the New York Jets?
I'm gonna go with the Titans. Right now, though, both teams have their issues. I think though this week will be a lot more of how could they install Julio into the offense, and more of figuring out how they're going to use Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Julio on the field at the same time. I think it will be a close game, but I think that the reason why it will be a close game is because I think they're going to do a lot more. The Titans are going to be doing experiments on offense on how they can use those big three on the field at the same time in crucial situations.
All right, now let's talk about the Carolina Panthers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. So I think the Carolina Panthers are playing out of their minds to begin the season. So I'm going to stick with the hot team, and I'm going to pick the Carolina Panthers to come into Big D and get the victory there because I think Sam Darnold is going to have a field day. And also, I think DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, I think they're going to have a big day offensively for the Panthers, and I think the Panthers defense is going to get to Dak Prescott and find a way to stop Ezekiel Elliott. So give me the Carolina Panthers to win this game. Sammy, you're a college football expert. You like Matt Rule. You know him pretty well from Baylor. Who do you like in this game?
Sam Darnold, Matt Rule, both big college football names. But I'm going to go with Dallas Cowboys because, the fact is I'm not seeing a lot from Christian McCaffrey right now. Chuba Hubbard is their other running back. I'm not seeing either of them really pop out to me right now. Sam Darnold has been the biggest surprise for the Carolina Panthers. I think of the top tier of the better win percentages, they're the more fraudulent team as of right now. I don't even know if they're going to be a playoff team at the end of the year, but I think that Dallas can come in. They have a really good offense. Like I said, they have a couple things going on their defensive side. They don't have a good defense, but they have something going for them. I think this offense could keep up with them into a shootout, and I think Dallas will prevail in a high-scoring matchup.
And Ben, who's your pick between the Panthers and Cowboys?
Ooh, that's going to be a really good one. Give me the Panthers. I really like kind of the, I'm not saying I'm going to hop in that fan bandwagon at all, but they've been a fun team. But the biggest thing about the Panthers is about McCaffrey, right? If he's out, that's obviously not going to be, in their favor. But I think that their defense can definitely give that. I mean, the biggest matchup of this game is going to be the offensive line of the Cowboys, a really good one against the really good defensive line for the Panthers. But I really trust Sam Darnold right now and the way that he's been playing. I think it could be a close game, and I think that's the Carolina will probably pull out the upset.
Now let's talk about here the New York Giants taking on the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints will be playing in their home opener at the Superdome in Week 4 against the Giants. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to watching this. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Saints do in their return to the Dome. So give me the Saints in this one over the Giants. As much as I love Joe Judge, I think he's a good coach. I just think that the way that Jameis Winston and the Saints played in New Orleans, I think Jameis Winston is going to have an even better game when the Saints return home to the Dome, just because I feel like that the Saints play their best football at the Dome. So anyways, Ben, who's your pick between the Giants and the Saints?
I mean, the Giants have been fun in a lot of ways to lose. They played against a Falcons team that is just they're going to be rebuilding for a while, and the Falcons found a way to win that game. So I think that the Saints defense could definitely give them problems, as we kind of saw with New England today. But the biggest thing is how Jameis will play. You have to see if you get the good Jameis, you get the bad Jameis. Because there were some plays today that I thought the Patriots did really good on him. He got a little bit lucky, I thought, but if he just basically controls the clock and, Payne has a good game plan, they should be able to win.
And who's your pick between the Giants and the Saints? Sammy?
I'm going to have to say the Saints. Just like Ben said, it would be depending on how well Jameis plays. I think that's the more crucial thing here, because if we have the Eaton W's Jameis, where he's I don't know, he's throwing 5 interceptions or 4 interceptions. The Tampa Bay Jameis. I don't think they're going to win against the Giants, because Daniel Jones is not that bad. I don't think the Giants are horrible, but I don't think they're that great. That if Jameis came in on his good day, I don't think they're going to be good enough to beat the Saints, because the Saints, they have weapons on offense. And their defense isn't horrible. It's a pretty solid defense, actually. So I'm going to go with the Saints if Jameis is going in on a good day.
Oh, of course. If Jameis Winston has a good day, he's going to have a good day, that's for sure. So now let's talk about the Browns and the Vikings. So, I mean, the Vikings came off a win over the Seahawks. They just got lucky to do that. But for the Browns, I'll tell you what, they're for real right now. I mean, they blew out the Chicago Bears. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bears in just a minute here. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Cleveland Browns. Give me the Cleveland Browns in a blowout over the Vikings, because Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, that offense that the Browns have, they can really, really wear out opposing defenses. And I think offense wins championships. And I think if the Browns were to win the Super Bowl, it'll be because of those two, Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb. So, Ben, who's your pick to win between the Browns and the Vikings?
Browns. I think Kirk Cousins actually played pretty well this year. They had a really good one today against the Seahawks, and I actually predicted that as a team kind of for a potential upset with Seattle losing to Minnesota, and they did that. But Cleveland is just a really good fundamentally team, as I said in the past. And I know it's cliche for me to keep on saying it, but I really like this matchup. OBJ's back, so that helps a lot. And so, yeah, give me the Browns.
And Sammy, who do you like in this matchup?
I'm agree with the Browns here. I think right now Cleveland's one of the more complete teams. Even though I'm a Steeler fan, I'm gonna pick the Browns. Like I said, they're a more complete team from top to bottom roster wise. It just depends on if Baker can roll out of the pocket and control the game. And, we saw glimpses of OBJ this week. So I don't know if he'll be more involved in the game plan. Same with Austin Hooper. I feel like those two were not in the game plan the first 2 weeks, but now we're starting to see them come alive this week. And maybe we'll see them more next week.
All right, folks. Now let's move on and let's talk about the Bears and the Lions. So let me start off by saying this. The Bears lost to the Browns by a lot. They only were held to 6 points. But I'm going to say this right now, and I bet everybody would love hearing my rant. Matt Nagy is not a good play caller. Fire him already, even though that they started Justin Fields. And I'm like, could he really save Matt Nagy in Chicago? I'm like, no, because Matt Nagy still calls bonehead plays. He's not a good play caller, and the Bears need to clean house their coaching staff. And it needs to start now. If they lose to the Lions, then I think that Matt Nagy's going to get the boot. So, anyways, give me the Detroit Lions to win this game. And I want to see Jared Goff get his first win as a starting quarterback for the Lions. And I want to see Coach Campbell get his first win as the head coach of the Detroit Lions. So give me the Detroit Lions in this game over the Chicago Bears. Because I just think that the Bears, to me, what are you going to get on offense? What are you going to get on defense? This team is a mess right now. Justin Fields can really save them on offense, which I think he can, but he's going to be running all over the place. The Lions defense isn't that good, but I think both teams are going to be scoring in bunches. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think the Lions will prevail. Ben, who's your pick to win this game and why? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Which game was it?
It was the Bears and the Lions, and I was talking about how I want Matt Nagy fired already.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He definitely is a nightmare, to say the least. We definitely need him gone.
But before you go on, I'm going to say this. I'm going to put this on the MI6 group chat. I'm going to make a meme that says, fire Matt Nagy. Like this if you're with me.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I would probably go with the Bears. Who again? Sorry.
Bears and Lions. I picked the Lions.
Bears. Give me the Bears. Yeah. I think that Justin Fields. I mean, the Lions just find ways to lose, right? I mean, they just lost today on a 68-yard field goal. If you lose on a 68-yard field goal, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're going to have a really tough year this year. But I mean, it was probably against one of the best kickers, not only this year, but ever. He's going to go down as one of the best kickers ever, I think, by the end of his time. But yeah, I think that Justin Fields had a really bad week this week, even though his little line didn't protect him. But I think he'll have a much better week this week. So give me the Bears.
And Sammy, who do you like between the Bears and the Lions?
I think it depends on how the offensive line performs for the Bears. Myles Garrett had a career day today with 4.5 sacks or 5 sacks. I forget how much he ended up with. Either way, Justin Fields hit the turf 9 times yesterday. Had more sacks. It got sacked more times than he completed the pass. But if that line shows up, there's no chance the Bears are getting another win this year. But if they are able to strategize, get the run game going, take some pressure off of Justin Fields, and be able to open up the pass game, I think that the Bears have a real chance of winning against the Lions. I think, like I said earlier, I think last week, the Lions, they're a very sneaky good team. Their offensive line's pretty solid. Their defense isn't horrible, and they have Jared Goff at quarterback. So, they're not, a horrible team for what they look, but they're a sneaky team that could catch a really good team if they're not prepared or, overlooking them in a trap game type setup. I think they're good enough to beat them. So as long as that offensive line for the Bears performs, I'm going to pick the Bears.
And also, now let's talk about the next game we're going to talk about is we're going to go to the AFC East, and the Buffalo Bills will take on the Houston Texans. So the Bills are now 2-1. So I'm going to go to the Buffalo Bills here. I think the Bills are playing their best football right now. They're one of the hottest teams right now in the division, and they're still the team to beat in the AFC East. So I have to admit that. So give me the Bills over the Texans because I think Josh Allen's going to have a field day on that Texans defense. And I think that not only that Josh Allen is going to score some touchdowns with his legs, he's going to keep throwing those deep passes to Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, and Cole Beasley, and Dawson Knox, and Devin Singletary, and Zach Moss will get some carries as well. So, Ben, who's your pick between the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans?
Give me the Bills, yeah. Houston is not a good team. They're not a good dysfunctional team, as we said in the past. And Buffalo just scored 44 points against a really good front, really good defense from Washington. So they're playing with a lot of confidence going into this one. So it's going to be a long test for Houston, and I think Buffalo will win.
And what about you, Sammy? Who's your pick to win that game?
Buffalo, since the Steeler game looked like that they are mad. It seems like the Steeler game really ticked off Josh Allen, so I'm gonna go with Buffalo on this. And with no Tyrod Taylor out in Houston, I don't really think Houston has a good chance of pulling off even an upset. I'm not sure how Houston can consistently move the ball downfield at this rate. I know they have a bunch of running backs that are experienced, and and I don't think though, even with the running back core, they're going to be able to do anything offensively against this Bills defense. Josh Allen's just going to tear this defense in shreds, in my opinion.
All right, now let's talk about this game. The Colts are taking on the Dolphins. So Jacoby Brissett is still the starting quarterback. He had a great game today against the Raiders. I am happy for him as a Patriots fan coming. He knows the Brian Flores offensive system because Brian Flores and Bill Belichick both run similar offenses down in South Florida. But with Tua Tagovailoa out, Jacoby Brissett stepped up in a big way today. But the Raiders came and won this game. But I do expect the Dolphins to bounce back from this game. And for the Colts, will they win ball games down the stretch? Absolutely. But they'll probably start off 0-4, but it won't be the fault of Frank Reich. So give me the Miami Dolphins in this one. Jacoby Brissett is going to get revenge on his former team right there in the Colts. So, Ben, who's your pick to win this game and why?
Colts and who is it?
Colts and Dolphins.
Ooh. You know what? Colts are due for a win. So give me the Colts. I think that, Wentz is back. They had a tough one today. 0-3. Jacoby Brissett almost pulled it off today in Vegas, but I think they have a lot of problems. Dolphins do, kind of similar to what the Pats do. Pats were definitely Dolphins were very fortunate to win that Week 1 game in New England because I think that they have some stuff they got to work on. But yeah, I think that the Colts will win this one and pull it out. I think that they're definitely due for one, and I think this could be the week that they get it.
And what about the Dolphins? What are your thoughts on Jacoby Brissett's performance today?
I thought it was decent. He had some hiccups kind of earlier on, but he really turned it up in that second half. And the game kind of seemed like it was out of reach. Raiders kind of gave them the game back, but I thought that he really definitely stood his ground and was able to give them a chance till the end, and just came up a little bit short.
Yes, he stepped up big time today in Tua's absence. So I feel like that when the Dolphins get Tua back, I think the Dolphins' offense is about to take off.
It could, man. I mean, we'll have to see how Tua feels when he comes back. Of course, what he kind of had was, a little serious. So we'll have to see how he can feel.
I think he'll be fine. So, Sammy, what's your thoughts on who's your pick between the Colts and Dolphins game? Give me the Dolphins in this one.
I'm going to agree with you. If there's no Carson Wentz, I'm definitely going to pick the Dolphins on this one. I'm not sure how good. I don't think Jacob Eason's going to be a career NFL starter. I think he's going to be a career NFL backup. I don't see a lot in him personally, But as far as Jacoby Brissett, I think he's a very underrated quarterback, and he's just not been in a situation where um, he has been able to take over a franchise and been in the right system. We saw him a little bit in New England where he was flourishing a little bit, but not a lot. And in Indianapolis, I'm not sure if that game plan was set up right around for Jacoby Brissett. But I think right now he's flourishing. He did a pretty solid job this past week for Miami. So I think we're going to continue to see that. And the Miami defense continue to play a very stout defense. So I'm going to say Miami in this one.
And now let's talk about the Washington football team taking on the Atlanta Falcons. So, I mean, after a bad loss by the Washington football team, you give me the Washington football team to win this game. I really think that defensive front is going to get to Matt Ryan. I think Taylor Heinicke is going to have a good game. I think he's shown that he can really be that starting quarterback for the Washington football team. Or when Ryan Fitzpatrick comes back, you do a dual quarterback situation. You put Taylor Heinicke in the pistol offense. He could really flourish in that. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick can just come in as a closer. So, Ben, who's your pick between the Washington football team and the Atlanta Falcons?
Washington football team. I like the matchup for Washington. I think that they're pretty pissed with the way that they played today and their effort. So I think they have a bounce game. And there's no other better opponent, I think, right now than a team in Atlanta that has a lot of issues themselves. They're very young. I do like myself some Matty Ice, but they have a bunch of issues defensively that I don't know how much they can be able to kind of correct throughout the year. So I think that Taylor Heinicke definitely sets back up, plays a much better game than he had today, and I think they'll win that game.
And what about you, Sammy? Who's your pick between the Washington football team and the Atlanta Falcons?
I agree with Ben. I think this defense is going to be very irritated with how they performed, and they're going to take a lot of frustrations out on Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons offense. So, Chase Young, that front seven with Washington, very underrated and very young. And I think that with Taylor Heinicke, he might not just be a dual quarterback, but he might be, the full-time quarterback out in Washington. He continues to perform like how he's performing. I don't think a lot of people expected the backup XFL quarterback to come in and perform like he has been performing. So, I'm going to take Washington in this one just because of those two hot hands with Taylor Heinicke and this Washington defense. And like Ben said, this offense, or the Atlanta offense right now is or not offense, but the defense is in shambles right now. And, I'm not hearing a lot from Kyle Pitts, the fourth overall pick that they wasted on or used on. So right now you're having a kind of a flop so far in the tight ends. And, the defense has not been showing up for you. So it's a bad combo right now for Atlanta.
All right, now let's go back to our comment section. Casey King says, I have the Cowboys 23-19 over the Eagles. I agree with that, but it could be much closer than that. Chiefs bounce back next weekend. Titans, no-brainer. Like I said before, the Jets are the Jets, and I've been cursed since they left Shea Stadium. And Brandon Herrera, thank you for tuning in, Brandon. Hey, the Vikings kicker got it done today. That's what he said, because I was on the morning tailgate with him today as well. So anyways, folks, let's go on to the late afternoon game. So the Seahawks are playing the 49ers. But with that being said here, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks to beat the 49ers in San Francisco just because I think that I think that Russell Wilson's going to come back with vengeance. And Ben, who's your pick between the Seahawks and the 49ers?
I'm going to go with the Niners. I think that they're pretty upset the way that they finished out this game. Russ and company, I feel that they'll play a good one, but I think that their defense is definitely, both teams definitely have known each other now. They have familiarity. I think that down the stretch, the defense will get to Russell Wilson, have a good game plan on him, and they'll find a way to win.
And what about you, Sammy?
I'm going to go with Seattle on this one over San Francisco. Early season, Russell Wilson is probably the best version of Russell Wilson we get. He's probably one of the best quarterbacks of all time, actually, when it comes to early season portions of quarterbacks. So, early season Russell Wilson, I'll take over a lot of people. And right now, that's what we're getting. And I think with DK Metcalf, who hasn't been getting, he didn't have a great first couple weeks. I think right now he's gonna have a breakout week against the San Francisco secondary, and I think that the Seahawks are going to torch this defense, in my opinion.
Absolutely, they will. So now let's go on and talk about the Cardinals playing the Rams. So I'm going to start off with this game. I'm going to pick the Rams in this one. Go 4-0, keep the streak rolling. And for Kyle, I think this is going to be a relatively close game. But I just think that the Rams defense is going to prevail in this game. So give me the LA Rams to beat the Arizona Cardinals here. So Ben, who's your pick between Stafford versus Murray?
Oof. Is it in LA or is it in Arizona?
In LA.
Oof. Rams. I think that this Rams team is just clicking on all cylinders. I love Kyler. I think Kyler's been great this year, but them staying at home, having big confidence after their win against Brady and the Bucs, Super Bowl champs this past year. So, yeah, I think that this Rams team is going to get this win next game.
And what about you, Sammy?
I'm going to go with the Rams. I think right now they're playing better right now, and I like the Rams defense a lot better than I like the Cardinals defense. I think right now the offenses are pretty close and Rondale Moore is an unsung hero right now for the Cardinals. Very underrated player coming out of Purdue. I thought the dude was going to do great, but I didn't expect him to do this great this early for the Cardinals. But with all that being said, like I said, I think the Rams right now with Matthew Stafford is a great fit for that the Rams offense and that Rams defense to complement that offense right now. It's just a great combo, and I think the Rams are going to prevail against the Cardinals.
Absolutely, they will. But now it's on to the 125 games. So let's talk about the Steelers and Packers. Give me the Packers in this game. I just think that Aaron Rodgers is going to get the better of Ben Roethlisberger. So, Sammy, I'm going to start with you on this one. Who do you like in this game and why?
I'm gonna say don't sleep on Pittsburgh on this one. I feel like when Aaron Rodgers is getting pressured and he does not have a lot of time in the pocket when TJ Watt comes back off injury. I think that's the most exposed Aaron Rodgers we see, or the most I can't think of the word right now, but that is the most vulnerable Aaron Rodgers we see whenever he's getting blitzed and he's not comfortable in the pocket, especially an older one. And if the Pittsburgh Steelers can continue to do that and continue to force Aaron Rodgers into making mistakes, and that's something that defense, when they're 100% healthy, they're fantastic at. They're fantastic at making people make uncharacteristic mistakes with Minkah Fitzpatrick, with TJ Watt, with Devin Bush and company. I think the Steelers can definitely prevail against this Packers team. With that being said, Mike Tomlin's not very good on the road. Packers are generally a very solid team at Lambeau. And the Packers offense is clearly better than the Steelers offense because, the Steelers offense right now, they're struggling to score more than 2 touchdowns a game. So I'm going to pick with the Packers.
And what about you, Ben? Who's your pick between the Packers and Steelers?
Is it at Green Bay?
It is at Green Bay, Lambeau Field.
Okay. Yeah, give me the Packers. I think that going back to Green Bay, especially after the big one that Rodgers just had, if he continues to play the football that he's been playing lately, I know they're facing a really good defense, but I think that Green Bay is definitely offensively looking a lot better kind of than what they've been in the past. Kind of took that first game, kind of flushed it down the toilet, and kind of going back to Green Bay Packer football. I think that they will get a turnover or 2 on that Pittsburgh offense, and that'll be the deal breaker. That'll be the reason why the Packers win.
All right. So now let's talk about the Ravens playing the Broncos. So give me the Baltimore Ravens in this game. I think Denver's going to lose their first game of the season. I think that Lamar Jackson's going to torch on that defense. And I think that the Broncos can give them quite a challenge, but I just think that the Ravens are the better team. So, Ben, who's your pick between the Ravens and the Broncos?
You know what? I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to go with Denver. I think that defense from Denver, it's really impressive. It's really underrated, low key. We've seen the first couple weeks. I know they haven't faced great offenses, but you just saw the Ravens had to win against the Lions. Yes, they won, but they had to win on a 60 whatever yard field. The Ravens have their own kind of issues themselves, which that's the biggest thing about the first couple weeks is a bunch of teams. You look at the Bucks, right? They have their secondary issues. You look at the Chiefs; they've lost 2 back-to-back games. They have their own issues defensively as well too. Patriots have their own issues. Ravens have theirs. I think offensively they can get some more threats on the outside receiver, but yeah, I think that this Denver game kind of bodes well. This defense bodes well for a guy like Lamar Jackson. They're going to make Lamar throw it a lot, I think, in this one. And I think that's the reason why Denver will win because Ravens don't really want to have Lamar throw it all the time. They obviously are a run-first type offense, but they're going to make him one-dimensional in this one. So give me the Broncos.
Yes, absolutely. So now let's talk about the next game we're going to talk about on our list will be hold on just a minute here. The next game we're going to talk about now is Sammy, who's your pick between the Ravens and the Broncos?
Well, Ben stole my pick here with the underdog pick, but you know what? I agree with him because I think right now what's going to happen is that the Ravens are going to try to be a run-first team, and we're going to see probably more than likely see them get behind the sticks in a lot of situations. And I think that's going to be forcing Lamar Jackson to pass, and I think the Broncos pass defense was one of the better ones in the league. Especially with being able to control the middle and not allow. I mean, really, to beat the Ravens, you have to get ahead of them on the scoreboard, have to control the middle of the field, and have to get them behind the sticks. So you have to do those 3 things to beat the Ravens. And I think right now, if you can do 2 of those 3 things, which the Broncos can definitely do, which is get them behind the sticks and control the middle of the field, Teddy Bridgewater just needs one early score and maybe another field goal to get the Broncos up 10-0. And I don't think the Ravens really, are not going to have as successful as they were against the Chiefs and week 1. So, and I don't even think they won week 1. So I don't think they're going to be as successful as they have been in the past, this past year and this year so far on offense. I think right now the Broncos are going to go 4-0, a very fraudulent 4-0, but a 4-0.
Yes, absolutely. So maybe they could go 4-0, but don't be shocked if they don't. So anyways, now let's talk about Sunday Night Football. This is going to be the game of week 4. Tom Brady making his return to his old stomping grounds, his football home in Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, along with Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a crazy game, but I think that both teams are going to play pretty good, but I think the Patriots are going to play like that they're mad. So give me the Patriots in this game because I really want to see the Patriots spoil Tom Brady in his homecoming to New England. But I want Tom Brady to play well. But I just want my team to win. So that's why I go for the Patriots. So anyways, Ben, who's your pick between the Buccaneers and the Patriots?
I can't believe I'm saying this. I want the Pats to win so bad. It's going to be an emotional day. I've already seen the Adele stuff already tonight. But Brady, of course, is pissed, especially about this past game he just had. And they're going to make Mac throw a lot. And as a young quarterback, I'm not sure how much he can, get. It's going to be a big spotlight type of game, right? It's going to be a Sunday night game. Lights are coming off. First game, prime time for Mac. Maybe he shows up big time this one. Maybe the Patriots will have a statement type of win. I love to see that. Love it. especially beating Brady and the Bucks. But the way that this first 3 games have kind of gone, I'm not sure if I kind of believe it right now. But so give me the Bucks in a close game, but I hope that's reverse psychology. I really would like to see my Pats win. But as you said, I would like to see Brady and Gronk, of course, do well. It's going to be more beyond football in this type of game. It's just going to be it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it is going to be a lot of fun. Are you kidding me? It's going to be a great game, that's for sure here. So, anyways, folks, now, Sammy, who do you want to win in the Patriots and Buccaneers game and Brady's homecoming? Tell us your pick and why.
I'm going to go with Tom Brady on this one in the Bucks, mostly because right now Bruce Arians is letting Tom Brady air out the ball, and Mac Jones is not airing out the ball. That's one thing. That's one big factor right now I have. The other thing is I think I think the Patriots defense is going to keep it close. I don't think though that they're going to be able to prevail offensively just because, like I said, we've seen Mac Jones not really air out the ball. He's been all the passes are either screens or close to this line of scrimmage. We're not seeing him take those bombs yet, those 30, 40 yards bombs that we saw him take in college week after week after week. And until then, I don't know. I think the Patriots can only do so much, and I don't think they're going to be able to keep pace with the high-flying Tampa Bay offense, especially if they get Antonio Brown back this week.
Absolutely. They definitely would want to get Antonio Brown back. Gronk is a bit hurt. He suffered an injury today against the Rams, so hopefully he'll get to play in his homecoming, but I do think he will. So anyways, now let's talk about Monday Night Football as the LA Chargers will host the Las Vegas Raiders. So anyways, I'm going to pick my hometown LA Chargers to win. Give me the Chargers in a win over the Raiders. I think they're playing good football right now, and I think that Brandon Staley is getting this team in the right direction. So, Ben, who is your pick between the LA Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders?
Oh, yeah. That's going to be a really good one. That's going to be a really interesting game. You got Derek Carr has been balling out. Yeah, Justin Herbert has been balling out lately too, especially going to Arrowhead, a tough place to win, especially the Chiefs coming off a loss too. I'm gonna go Chargers. I think the Raiders have had a good run so far, but I think they're bound to lose. They almost lost that game today when they were up by quite a bit. Kind of similar to what Sammy was saying about the Packers, I guess you can say, in terms of the fact they had that lead and then they kind of fell apart at the end, even though they won ugly. Obviously, winning ugly is better than losing pretty, but I think that the Chargers with Herbert and all those guys will make a statement game, and I think they'll win.
Absolutely, they will. So, anyway, Sammy, who's your pick between the Chargers and the Raiders?
I'm going to say with the Chargers. They've impressed me more this past week than the Raiders are. I think the Raiders are going to be, though, both teams are going to be threats at the end of the season. I think the AFC West right now is shaping up to be the best division this year. But I'm going to go with the Chargers this week just because of how good Mike Williams looked. And if Mike Williams looks as good, and you have Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert all on the same offense, I think it's going to spell trouble for any defense playing the Chargers this year.
All right, folks. So that being said, it has been a great show, and it's time for some final thoughts. And my final thoughts is thank you to Casey King, and also thank you to Brandon Herrera, and also Isaiah Leong for tuning in. But Isaiah, I know we'll see you next week when we'll see you next week on the Extra Point here. So anyways, Ben and Sammy, what are your final thoughts? So, Sammy, I want to start with you. This is your first Extra Point show, so looking forward to having you on here every Sunday.
Yeah, thank you, Loro, for having me on tonight. My final thoughts of this Sunday. It was a hectic Sunday with the Steelers losing as bad as they did to the Bengals. And with all the historic plays we saw with the Jaguars, 109-yard touchdown we saw, and then we had the 66-yard Justin Tucker field goal, one of the craziest field goals I think I've ever seen in my life. That was completed. So it was a great Sunday. Definitely game of the week in my opinion, though, was the Ravens and the Lions game. Most memorable game in my opinion of this Sunday.
And what about you, Ben? What are your final thoughts?
Well, I really think that my weekend in terms of sports, right? Patriots losing, but the Red Sox, they had a rough weekend. Really, really rough weekend. Just not really know much to say. But in football world, yeah, it was big. There's a lot of good games. It's been a really good season, and week 4 can't come. Week 4 can't come soon enough. Crazy to think we'll be in October already, which is amazing. But good show. Sammy, it was nice meeting you. Hopefully, we'll definitely do another show together at some point. And Loro, once again, thanks for having me, and we'll talk more on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, yes, for sure. So actually, before we go here, some comments that Isaiah just pulled up here. He said that don't see Brady losing back-to-back weekends. Oh, of course not. Absolutely not. And then he said, unfortunately, I think the Renters went over the Raiders. So anyways, folks, for Sammy Sharp, for Ben Kurse, Loro signing off for now. Have a great rest of your night. And our next show on the Extra Point will be next Sunday after Sunday Night Football, and we will be recapping Brady's homecoming. Hopefully the Patriots will win then, but if not, and if Brady wins, I'm not going to be surprised at all. Have a great rest of your night, everyone.
Yeah. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the 3. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the 3. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep.
I got what it take to be a champ. Ball's life, you should come and join the camp. Title after title, put my rivals off the map. Thought you had the trophy till I came in for the snatch. I was born in it, not sworn in it. I ain't come to play, my wrist mean all business. Running like I'm Mimic, check my jersey, authentic.